Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. Bill and Linda are away seeing the eclipse this week, so with
apparently.
Say what?
Slash human sacrifice, because all the conspiracy theorists saying there's going to be a massive human sacrifice with this solar eclipse.
I mean, you beat me to the joke, Jen. I was going to say wish them luck on their human sacrifice.
I apologize. I have ruined it.
That's okay. You made it for me.
I mean, how many years have you been wanting to do the ritual?
Yeah, he has, but at least we know that, we're not under the knife, so... But anyway, welcome back for another episode. I'm Seth.
I'm Charles.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Chris. We're joined today by Kevin. Say hello.
Hello.
Excellent. Welcome, Kevin. And today we're going to be talking about virtual tabletops in the role-playing space.
Roll initiative.
Yeah. Here, we pretty much everyone, except for maybe Charles, you don't play any D&D, do you?
Not these days. I haven't found the time.
Well, all of us, a lot of us were playing or started playing or had an ongoing game during the pandemic.
Yes. Which
had to lead to some quick creative solutions if we wanted to be able to keep playing.
Mm-hmm.
Our particular solution was a program called Fantasy Grounds, but there are many, many others, and today we'd like to kind of talk about some of them and show you a few of them. And there are a lot to consider, so this is only a sampling.
Yeah.
Quick question, just as some background, because I have no idea, because I never would have thought about engaging an online D&D platform since, I want to do this stuff in person. Before the pandemic, was it as popular to go online to play these games, or did the pandemic really boost the production of different tabletop options online?
I think that the pandemic definitely boosted the number of options online. We saw a lot of different options just come out or be developed shortly after the lockdowns would end. But people have been playing online for as long as online has been online. They've just done it on forums and on in chats and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Fantasy
Grounds has been around for well over 10 years. It's been around for a really long time. And to be clear, some of these aren't just built for D&D either. They're as a virtual tabletop. This is any kind of tabletop game that you can play. We generally do a lot of D&D based ones or Pathfinder role playing based games, but there's a lot of other virtual tabletops you can do as well that aren't in those realms. But Fantasy Grounds has been around one of the longest, which thinking about it, I kind of wish it had improved a little bit more in its platform. But to your point, Jen, over the pandemic, we did have a lot of new ones come out as well. If maybe those other ones that already existed didn't kind of fulfill people's needs or features and things like that. So,
right. Sure. And I mean, some platforms are completely system agnostic. It just doesn't care what you want to do because it's just there to be a map and kind of a visual thing for your game. while others are tightly tied to their core system, like D&D Beyond will be.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, do we just want to get into it?
Yeah, we should jump into one and go from there.
All right, how about we just start with Fantasy Grounds so I can close it and end its sucking down of my system's resources.
So, well, Seth brings that up. One funny thing. So I took a jab at Fantasy Grounds earlier, and Seth kind of alluded as to why it's been around for a long time, and it is not resource optimized at all. You can run it on just about anything, but it'll suck its resources dry. So if you're thinking of being mobile on a laptop, you're gonna want to be plugged in because you're not going to get longevity out of running this program. It doesn't matter if you're running the server or you have a client. It's kind of if you have a CPU and an integrated GPU, that integrated GPU is going to be running at like 100% the entire time you're running a game. It's kind of bizarre, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's been like that for a long time. But hey, there it is, Fantasy Grounds.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does everything you need a VTT to do. It manages it gives your characters a place where they can build out their characters in the game, manage inventory, resources. It does all the stuff, and it does it with pretty much all the systems. So, in that respect, it's a little impressive. It is quite the system hog. There is no option for a tablet, and as Chris said, if you want to run it on a laptop, it's going to drain that battery really fast. That being said, it is not the easiest to work with. There is a definite learning curve here, especially if you're a GM using the GM tools. But I mean, like with with many things, when you get down and learn how to use it and the different functions, then it sings pretty well. It also works very well as just like a reference for a DM. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you don't want to run things on it, it is a pretty good just like system to keep track of all your characters' stats and information. Your characters will be listed up top here. This is just an empty game. But your characters will be listed up top. You can get access to, the DM can get access to their skills, stats, abilities, and whatnot to look up what they have if the question comes up in game. So it's really useful for me to just like have all this information at my fingertips, because I've bought the modules that we're running, and Fantasy Grounds now has all the maps, and they do a really good job putting their modules together. So if I bring up this Hell's Bright, this is the first part of the Pathfinder 1 campaign that we're going through right now. And it's got all the things I need for this particular campaign, or particular set of things, all ready to go. I need to know the rumors. It's given me a thing here that gives me access to all the rumors, and I can roll for it right in here if I need to. I've got all my random encounters that might happen and can roll for those. I've got all the other encounters just here with the number of baddies I need to put down, and it interacts with the map that also is attached to this encounter. So it makes it fairly quick to load up a map and get an encounter going. So this one I feel pluses and minuses. Maybe not.
Can you pull up a character sheet? Do you have like just a generic one you can show?
I don't have any characters in this.
Can you pull it from D&D Beyond, or do characters have to make their character on?
Your characters have to make their character within this. And since I'm in DM mode right now, I don't know how to do that because they've updated. That's another thing about Fantasy Grounds, though, is that it is under constant update.
It is.
Which is a plus and a minus in that they will fix bugs pretty quickly, but new bugs will also be implemented just as quickly, and you're going to have to keep updating, but the features do keep improving. So a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
So does
what
this
I really
sorry.
what I really like about this is that during the pandemic, when we started it, I was able to just buy the full GM's license. Normally, players would have to get a monthly subscription or something to participate in the game. But if you buy the full GM lifetime license, it's about, I want to say, $150, and then anyone can connect to one of your campaigns, and all the content that you've bought and have chosen to share, they can access. So it makes it really easy if you've got all the content and you want to get people in on kind of a newer system that they don't have all the books for, or any of the books for, or maybe they don't have the money to buy books. This is a good option outside of the other one that we all practice, which is piracy.
So does the server actually run on your machine, or does it run on their servers and you're beholden to them?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it runs on your machine,
yes,
but it uses their servers to connect to you somehow, because starting this campaign, Fantasy Grounds doesn't know anything about this. Fantasy Grounds doesn't know anything about my other campaign.
Okay.
I have never ran my normal campaign off of this computer, so it doesn't know anything about that campaign. I have to go and get the files from a different computer to put them on this computer to show you, which is something I forgot about before starting this podcast recording.
Yeah, it operates a lot like the older multiplayer games where you host as a server, but the registry where users find you to connect is done by Fantasy Grounds, and then that connects you to the server itself. But there's nothing hosted by Fantasy Grounds itself. So,
Okay.
But you roll
Oh, look at that. Physical dice.
roll multiple dice. I mean, this is one of the best parts of Fantasy Grounds.
Yes. and to Seth's point, you can use it to track while you're doing game playing. So even if you're not doing anything within Fantasy Grounds itself, for one of the campaigns, I still log into Fantasy Grounds to track my character sheet and any attributes, because I can drag skills or abilities into this screen, have it auto-calculate without going back to the sheet and paper and trying to figure out, hey, what was the special ability that adds this on to whatever. I can kind of go back and forth, but it works very well. Similar to, if you have a character sheet in D&D Beyond, if you use the app or the website, you can roll die within there, and it can kind of keep track of all your abilities and stuff. So yeah, for one of the campaigns we do, if I feel like it, I'll just do all my stuff within Fantasy Grounds. So pretty helpful in that manner, especially if you get my sheet and my pencil or something. So works pretty well.
Something cool that this platform does that I don't see a lot of platforms doing is that as a GM, you can chat with your players, of course, but if you can also do some kind of role play through the chat, in which I can say, all right, you find a note and it says this.
I think even a step further.
So it's do any of you speak Draconic? And the players who speak Draconic will actually see the translation of that.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. I was going to bring that up as one of my favorite points in it, because in my party, I'm a goblin and we have a fairy and another player. That person's the only one who also speaks goblin. So we can have side conversations in the chat in front of the other players, and they can't see it or understand it. The other element that we've incorporated into gameplay is a secret or invisible dice tower. So normally you can see how they're doing on their death saves, but now we're hiding it. So we have to make decision because like in real life, in theory, you don't know how close someone is to death if they're just lying there on the ground.
Yep.
So now like they're encouraging us to play more to the character. Like, okay, you don't really know how the character's doing. So are you going to stop and strategically hope or like they're doing okay, or invest the resources and a move to heal them or not? So it's aspects of personalization you can do that I do appreciate, that even though you've got all of these books and all of these mechanics built into Fantasy Ground, there's still room for individualization. There's the DM bypass on everything. But my little pet peeve in this system is definitely how some things take 1 click and some things take two clicks.
Yeah, that throws people a lot. You know, with double rolls or just things not going through, and you're like, "What's going on?" So,
like you accidentally roll twice and you only meant to roll once. And it may seem like a small thing, but when you're just trying to get through the game and not create unnecessary actions, having some things be 1 click and some things being 2 it's a little pet peeve.
Yeah. But this is definitely one of the more complicated of the systems to use, I feel, which is good and bad in that the complexity means that you can customize it a whole lot more and do a lot more of the things that you want to do with it. But the downside to that is it's got a steeper learning curve until you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's a Swiss Army knife for sure. And I think it's because it's been around for so long. There's been so much built into it and added into it. As we mentioned earlier on, it's not very well optimized in terms of how well it runs. But there is a very extensive list of things that you can do within here once you kind of learn it. And it does have a long, a steep learning curve, as Seth made. And it's not the sexiest thing to look at, but it is functional, very, very functional. So, and for the most part, to Seth's point, you know, they do updates all the time to fix bugs. Sometimes you get new ones. You run some attacks or whatever, and they calculate a little funny or not at all. And every once in a while, for whatever reason, you might have stable connection issues. You got to restart your server or something like that. But outside of that, I mean, that's Fantasy Grounds, Fantasy Grounds, and it's pretty well. A few of us have been using it for a few years. I think we'll pivot though to another one.
Yeah, I was going to ask first about with the encounters and stuff. Do you have Fog of War? Do you have?
Yep. You've got Fog of War. You've got map effects. You can do all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Not as sparkly as you can do it in other systems, but it works. Fog of War works just fine. Map layers. All that sort of stuff. They've started. I don't actually use these features, but they have been putting a lot of work into them. Where they've got dynamic lighting. You can, if you go and you really build out your maps, you can put in doors that open and close and are locked, and the players have to roll to get through them. There's a lot of different stuff that I can do with maps that I don't do and would probably make a flashier thing, but also I have limited time and
right.
And some fairly serious ADHD some days.
That's me.
So let's jump into Foundry then, which is another one that we have. Kevin, who's joining us as a guest today, is a DM, and I don't know how many campaigns you're running currently. I know of a couple. But he plays this DM for a couple of the other games that we do, and he utilizes Foundry, which I find to be pretty awesome as well, and maybe a little bit of the sexier version of VTTs that are out there. But Kevin's going to show us a little bit, talk a little bit about that. So,
yeah. All right. So, can you see my screen all right?
Not yet. Should have.
Seth, did you give him ultimate power?
Nope, we're good.
All right. Okay. All right. So, Foundry is a beautiful toolbox. It starts pretty simple. It's very limited at what it can do. It's almost like if you're sitting down at a tabletop, this is the stuff you would do in person. And then you can take all these little Lego sets or modules, build it up into something that you don't recognize anymore, and get yourself lost and confuse your players or yourself, and break things very easily. So the main thing about Foundry is that once you get it installed, you got it set up. I'm not going to get onto the whole details about everything behind it. Who of you have worked with Linux before?
Yep.
All right. Well, if you like Linux, this is like a distro that's vanilla, and then you add to it, and then you break it, and try to figure out for 2 hours that it was. But with Foundry, they too have. This is just the basic thing. Right now, I have it running on a desktop. Or sorry, this one's running on Chris's server. I have another one that I'll show you too, to show you when all the modules are in there. But when you first make it up, you get to download whatever systems you use. There are a bunch of them. Pathfinder's in there. I don't even know half of these are. The Walking Dead universe. But anyways, you can download as many systems as you want. You need that first before you create a world. And then you just create it, you select your system, and then you go in there. I made one with absolutely no modules. This is what you get out pretty much out of the box once you start it up. Watch for my amazing password. Usually the testing ones, I don't put much in there. But this is the Dungeon Master View. I just made this really quickly. The map itself in Dungeon Draft, which is another standalone program. You can create random dungeons and stuff like that. But with Foundry now, when that just released, the newest version for the 5e rule set, Wizards of the Coast has partnered with Foundry now. So now there's some built-in integration, which is really neat. They have some pre-made characters for you. So if someone just randomly joins, you can plop them right in. And that's what I have right now. It's all the SRD stuff that's pre-baked into it. And this is some simple things like these are lights in the background. You can change them to flicker. You can change them to effects. This is fairy lights and stuff. You can do some cool tricks. Like if you have water on your map and it's a static map like this, you can make a wave effect with light to make it look like the water is actually moving.
That's cool.
They revamped the character sheets now, so they look wonderful. And this is, again, a pre-made. But like other systems, you got all your skills, your stats. Again, I could take days explaining anything. But if you hover over it, it'll tell you a description of what the skill is and what it has. Unfortunately, these little tool things go away too quickly to actually click on them to get more details. But they got it down now. So you got your inventory tags. A real cool thing they've added is now containers have their own thing. So you can see in there, offset your character sheet. It does automatic conversions for coins if you need them. It tells you your limit weight. Again, this is all out of the box right now. I haven't touched any modules. And then, just like you were saying, you can click on something. It'll bring up a card, have more description if you need it. You roll for attack, advantage, whatnot. It shows here. If I had something targeted on the DM side, it will tell me, hey, you're it either hit or miss. So it makes it pretty easy. But yeah, basically this is just out of the box. This guy has no vision right now because there's no lights except for what I put back there. And then I put a little elf guy in here, and he can see everything because, of course, the vision. It does have doors, like over here, and this is a lock door. So if the character tries to click on it, it'll make a little jiggle noise, like it can't get to it. There's no like little mini game they can play or anything. You basically just have them roll off screen. Click on their stat, it'll roll for them. And then for the DMs, we can have little map notes to pull up journals, so we don't have to have our journals completely open all the time. And all right, that is like, this is what most people see.
Core thing, yeah.
All right.
How quickly do you see people getting comfortable in it? I mean, when you have someone come in and, you know, maybe they've played D&D before already, so it's like they have an idea of what they're supposed to do mechanic-wise, but how long before people get comfortable? And what's like the cost of entry like as Seth brought up the DM being $150 for a lifetime in Fantasy Grounds. What's the threshold for cost?
$50, I believe, is the cost right now. So $50, it's yours. And they're constantly updating the core stuff, which can be a problem because all the modules in the system are community driven. So if you have a module you really, really like, which I had some before I upgraded this, they can't keep up sometimes and they'll break. Sometimes you'll wait on a lower version just so you can keep your stuff. And that's what I recommend. If you make a campaign, try to stay where you're at and not move the needle too far or you start breaking things. But I really like what they do with some of the newer stuff and how more versatile it is beforehand, especially with the character sheets. And as long as you can get your character to find the character sheet, they can click it. It pops up on this little side menu here for the cards. They can read it. They follow directions. A lot of manual stuff that the DM will have to do, like, oh, I target this little goblin here, and now I'm going to attack him. Oh, look, he hit. Then I have to go in here and click on the goblin and do whatever damage he happened to roll. So it's a normal hit. Oh, you can apply it, apparently. Apply to the target. Oh, look. See, I didn't know this stuff. I have it so modded up now.
Right.
So, and then you tell it to take all the damage, and no, okay, oh, there it is. Sometimes it will select the character themselves, but you can manually just mess with it and kill your targets that way.
All right. How did it does rule sets other than D&D? How do you? So something I forgot to talk about on Fantasy Grounds is that while it does do all the rule sets, you have to purchase those rule sets individually. Is that similar with Fantasy Grounds?
No. With these basic rule sets, again, like these, the core systems are community built, and they're just stuff from whatever is allowed by that open license, and they just build it that way. So if I went to Pathfinder, I would find the Pathfinder game system, download it, it's done. I don't have to worry about it. Now, content-wise, that's a little different. So, like, own books on D&D Beyond. I do have a module called GDB Importer that, as long as I own it or shared with me, I can pull that entire book into Foundry itself, and should retain any links and stuff like that and link it for you. But it doesn't always work per se. Then now that D&D Beyond or Wizards of the Coast has partnered with Foundry, their newest ones, the Found Delver module. Now that one you can download just like a module, and it'll put all your maps and all that stuff in there, sound effects and all that good stuff. For a DM tool, there's a lot you can do. Like this is stuff on here, like a measurement tool. You can create templates for your area effects things. Like, oh, I cast whatever, and there it is. And again, there's no automation right now because I have no modules, but there are automation modules which will, you click on an attack, it does all the calculations for you. If I put a splash like here.
Do you want to switch over to one that you have that's heavily modified?
Oh, God.
Load?
Yeah, I can. Give me a second here. So just taking in this right here, this is your basic menu. They do expand a little bit, but not by much. There is some other tabs over here that usually it's more for the DM. And just go over real quick. You got an encounter one, scenes, actors, items and stuff. You can create your own items and pull it in. Journals, you can do a whole bunch of configurations so users can use them. It's got built-in roll tables if you put them in there. I don't know what card stacks are. I think you can put a little card, like a deck of many things in there. You can have music play through here. You can even stream like we are now through here. It has video chat. As long as you have HTTPS enabled, you're good. Chat. Companion packs are like, oh, I'm not going to use this for a long time. So it just stores the information, and then you can download it back into Foundry, so you're not hogging resources. And then, of course, settings galore. This is like settings the game for the DM. So but that's just basic. And you can still do some cool stuff with it. Like this is a Chispeku map that I found that's animated. And sorry if it's really loud. You can put music based on there. So anytime you change the scene, it automatically starts a playlist and the background sounds. This is an animated map. So, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff just out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Bill would have liked this one better. He loves his sounds and the music stuff.
But he loves he wants his YouTube playlist to DJ. Like,
yeah.
Well, I use Discord, and I have an audio pipe.
Yes, he does.
So I have an audio pipe that pipes the music into Discord, which I use for chat since we have some people with older computers. This can be a system resource or hog, I should say, for those older machines. So we use that. It's just easier for me to find playlists that way too, and not have to load it up into Foundry, because everything in here has to be in Foundry unless you have a module that lets you pipe out. But let's see here. Let's see that one.
Yeah, Foundry so far in Kevin's campaigns are some of the coolest map and map effects I've seen. So,
oh, nice.
He hasn't even touched on some of what the modules can do.
All right, so keep in mind that simpleness before. This is now what it looks like when I had it fully moduled up. This is the final fight map that we had. And
the big demon thing we had to take down.
Yeah, let's see if it actually shares.
I'm like preparing my body because like that was already really pretty. So if it's like up to that level of extra.
All right, it says it should be streaming there, but I don't see it popping up on our little thing.
Oh, sorry, that's on me.
Okay. So so that simplicity that we saw before is gone. A whole bunch of stuff in here, really cool stuff, awesome stuff. Take days, weeks to talk about. If you want a lot of stuff that you can see, you can do with Foundry. A really good modder, or one of the guys I find or give to Patreon on Bailey Wiki does fantastic videos about all the crap you can do. But this was the final battle map. Of course, I was streaming through YouTube for the music, so there's no music. But this is what I see, which can be a mess. I have hidden things and everything like that. It could be a total mess. I'll see. Can I share two screens, or do I have to kill this one and share it?
You have to kill one. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. All right. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. All right. And this is what the players see. So nice and clean. All that stuff. I'll move my DM.
Oh, so the demon's invisible. That's just horrifying.
So
yeah, we had not discovered it yet. It had not shown up yet. So
yeah, that same thing happens in the fantasy realms. I've done the same thing to you guys.
So there are modules where you can build entire encounters inside of a journal, and then just click on it, and it will populate the map that way. I find that just hiding them on the map is usually easier for me because nothing will go wrong, hopefully. So like on my side, like when the players came in for the first time for this map, I had you have all these macros you can have in the background. You can customize if you like scripting, and you can write your own stuff. But I just had simple things like turning on lights on the stage. And then it would start the battle music. I got a giant pentagram that would show up during the fight. I had summons that I could do. Basically, that one up.
Just don't like accidentally summon a demon on the podcast. That could be awkward.
Well, I have to meet my quota for this month.
What more? We might be, if you summon a demon on the podcast, we might be at our demon summoning quota, and then Bill's sacrifice will fail later. So
Yeah.
that would be bad. But then I can unhide the creature to get him in there, and then oh look, big reveal, big old demon they could fight, and it's just a lot of fun little things you can do, but you have to keep track of. Another thing I had was the boss characters were above on these little balconies, and they would teleport around, so they had to use ingenuity to get to them. But there was struts underneath them that they could destroy, and then I could add more automation to destroy them, turn off lights in certain sections.
pretty cool.
So yes, very flashy. Probably about 3 days worth of work to get everything working, and that wasn't even on the encounter itself. You can get super lost in here.
Can you show some of the animations that occur for, like, do you have the ones where you do group skill checks and what that looks like?
Not in this one. I can go back to the one we're doing right now, because that was a newer edition. They added later. But like, so like, I have two characters here right now, and if I select them, where's Chris? I can ask for a contested roll, and then request a roll. They'll get a little thing, and sometimes we'll automatically roll for them. Since I'm a DM, it automatically rolls. Those 3D dice are added. There's normal dice not in there.
So I found the automated parts of that fairly easy, so you don't have to wait for your players to find it on their character sheet or anything.
With MIDI QOL, you can automate everything pretty much. If you cast Bless, you'll see a little thing go around your character. It'll keep track of the timing for how long it stays on there. If I move the little time on this little clock down here, it will, down here, on the DM side, it will automatically kill the effect for you. So it takes a lot off your mind as a DM to keep track of everything, but then you're also putting a lot of faith into the system itself and hoping it keeps track of it.
So nice bit to sum up so far what we've looked at in the podcast. Fantasy Grounds gives you a lot of different mechanics and a lot of different systems, but it's pretty cut and dry visually and how you engage with the players. Foundry, you can do a lot of the shiny, mods, graphics, animations, but it's going to take days to build. So if you just want to jump in, Fantasy Grounds might be the better bet, versus if you really want to be an artist, then maybe go into Foundry.
Right.
That's what I'm picking.
Yeah. If you want to wow your players, especially if you're not at the table, it's kind of hard to do certain things. I mean, I try to be descriptive, but at the same time, if I can just click on something real quick and show it to them that way, it makes for a nice experience. I don't do this for every map. I went all out on this one because it was
I can ask you then, how much more devastating is it when you spend 3 days building the cool graphics and they ruin your plan?
I get over it pretty quickly anymore.
That was sad. He built a beautiful story, and then we kind of, it falls apart with our ragtag.
Oh, you guys are continually amusing. Don't bring your. You've only ruined a few of my plans.
I try to have contingencies. Luckily, they're not murder hobos yet, but we're getting there.
Those mine are really murder hobos. Oh my god, they live in a sewer. It's
yeah. So I wanted to ask Charles a question here, actually, real quick. So you grew up playing D&D as well, and from when you were playing,
I did.
What are your thoughts on this?
It looks like fun. It does to me.
Charles.
No, I just remember losing so much time when I was younger doing it that
and I agree. It can be a time thing. Was it just getting through combat? Was it
this yeah, I don't
know.
I don't know the answer. I just know I remember losing weekends and then going, every time you guys invite me, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. A couple of years.
Well, we'll be happy to have you when you're ready.
Even if just as a guest, because that's what happened when I joined Kevin's campaign, and then I'm still there.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm not afraid of being bored. I'm afraid it's going to be fun.
Well, maybe playing from the comfort of home would be a good thing for you.
Yeah, you do have me wondering, like something like that before going to bed or something, rather than watching the tube.
Yeah.
I'm actually playing an online game with Benito, just purely over Discord right now. No maps, just description and rolling dice. But
we'll have to think about it.
All right.
But we can't talk about all of this without talking about D&D Beyond and its structure and what can you play on it compared to the others and character setup.
Well,
personally, I've only played in D&D Beyond and Fantasy Grounds. I found, because I was actually going into a D&D game, D&D Beyond was a much cleaner character setup. Like I felt like I knew I had gotten every aspect I needed to set up for my character, versus Fantasy Grounds, because they have so many different systems. You're always left a little bit, did I get everything? Is everything set up right? At least that's my sentiment. Like, it's fun. I really enjoy Fantasy Grounds, but you're always kind of like, okay, is everything, all the mechanics, all the details of my character right? Versus it was a really clean, I was confident my character was good to go in D&D Beyond.
And I think it's just because it's focused on D&D.
Agreed.
So it is very much contained to the format and what you're doing, and because of that, it works really, really well. And for the campaigns that you are just doing D&D, particularly 5e, you can use that to manage your character sheets. And I've been doing that in recent campaigns too. Is I'll have everything in D&D Beyond, and that's how I kind of go through everything. Is this your screen, Seth?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is it. This is the basic character sheet, and it's basically a one-page format of what you typically get on a piece of paper. The cool thing about this is if you still prefer paper, you can get everything built out in here,
yep.
Put your weapons in, and you can convert this to a PDF so you can print it out or just keep it on a sheet of paper if you wanted. And that's the awesome part. But the cool thing in here is you can even roll your attacks and damage if you want to click on something. There's and you can do this within the thing, so you don't have to worry about forgetting your dice or anything like that. You can operate within this all together. It's pretty cool. Healing, resting, all of that.
For DMing, D&D Beyond is amazing.
Yes,
it's such a good reference. It's so easy to find what I need to find, just like on game rules and whatnot. It has a fantastic the mobile the mobile app is also fantastic. They make getting at information, getting at your characters really easy.
Easiest character creation I've ever had.
Yeah,
well. And leveling up.
Like from the character sheet also, and they make this really easy everywhere. Is that everything is clickable? Like you can see anything you want related to skills, attacks, spells. If you're doing a spellcaster, managing your spells is super easy now because you've got your known spells, you've got your prepared spells, and you can just do that at the beginning of every day. This is a tool that isn't really a VTT yet, but it is enabling play just wherever you're playing.
Yeah, I have my players actually update their characters on D&D Beyond, and then I use a module, D&D Importer, to pull it straight to Foundry. It updates all the fields for them, so whatever they selected on there, it's now new and fresh and updated. I can also push it back up to D&D Beyond if there's any changes, tend not to do it with items and stuff because that can break, especially with custom items. But yeah, I use D&D Beyond for my in-person campaign, and that's how we manage my character sheet.
It sounds like that integration between Wizards of the Coast and Foundry is really going to be a game changer in terms of ease of going back and forth. If you're trying to make a decision on what to use for your campaign, and you are doing the 5e, then maybe going this route, and then you could still use Foundry for all the pretty graphics and customization that way. Might push you to that, doing it that way for your group versus Fantasy Grounds and a D&D character sheet development to just understand what you're going to do with your characters because it's easier.
Well, while we're talking about VTTs, D&D Beyond, they are developing their own VTT, and it's still in alpha. So there's not much there, but you can take a look at it.
Not seen much of this yet.
It's very basic. You can do Fog of War kind of stuff. Oh, wait, you aren't seeing any of this because it's on a different... hold on.
Oh. I was like, maybe it's loading.
I heard that they were trying to do 3D with it at one point. Is that?
I think that's coming, but for right now, they're starting simple and just.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Wow, that is simple.
It is dead simple, but it is also in a web browser.
Yes.
So as where other systems you have to install software or connect to anything, this is just entirely based on whatever campaign I'm running. So I open up this Maps app and I say, okay, it's for this campaign. It knows the maps in that campaign. It knows the characters in that campaign. So if I have characters and maps loaded for that campaign, I can just drag and drop them on here. No muss, no fuss. And I also have access to all the different stuff that I've bought in D&D Beyond. So all the monster stuff. So you can see I can't use this monster because this one isn't in my content library. But I can use all of these monsters because I have bought the source books for all of them. And there's a search bar, there's players, so I can put my players in here. I mean, it's not super complicated, but
at the same time, it shouldn't be either.
And it's still an alpha, so I think this is one that will actually come along and be much more fully featured and fleshed out as time goes on.
I think this brings up a good point that Kevin made before we started filming, is that, you buy all the books to use for a system, and then if you go to a different system, you have to buy all the books again. And that's challenging. Yeah. Versus if everything's in person, you just have the stack next to you and you can use it for anything. And it's just having to buy that cost threshold of having to buy everything again for a new system. That is pretty steep, I think.
Yeah. Or an existing system. Because, if I wanted my D&D Beyond content in Fantasy Grounds, I got to go and buy it again. So I have my D&D stuff in D&D Beyond and my my Pathfinder stuff in Fantasy Grounds. And yeah, I really wish there were just a way to buy your content in one place and have it go to all the places.
Right.
Yeah, they do need a process to some kind of, if at ever possible, or proof of purchase, especially if you bought it through them, that says you now have rights to the digital version of what you already bought physically, and it's just not a thing.
So fun fact, Paizo actually kind of does this for Pathfinder. At least in Fantasy Grounds, if you buy the module in Fantasy Grounds, you'll get a steep discount on the book or the digital book from Paizo. and vice versa, if you buy it in buy the digital book in Paizo, I think you will also be able to get a steep discount in Fantasy Grounds.
Cool.
That's an awesome partnership.
Yeah, I mean, Paizo is actually really good about that, so it's nice. There's also, I wanted to take a quick look at another one really quick. I don't know this one too well yet, but it is one of the big ones and should be mentioned, is Roll20.
Oh, I've used that before.
I have not.
This is another web-based thing, so it's very nice if you have players who are playing on tablets or just need a lower threshold of hardware and don't want to run Fantasy Grounds. This is another subscription-based option where your GM will basically get a subscription, and then players will have access to their content. But you've got the mapping online once again. It's a little bit simpler, but it's a web interface, so, I mean, what you're going to do? But you also have some options of, like, playing with the size. They have light sources and different things that you can access. Switching between maps and screens is actually fairly easy. You just have layers that you can access at will. So if you need to swap between maps or want to show your players creature images, it's fairly easy to get around there. And then
maps that look like medieval tapestries.
This is content specific from one of the books I was running.
Okay.
So this is just how they did their map in the book. This really wasn't meant to be used as a battle map, but more as an illustration of what the players were doing.
Yes.
I mean, they've got the same sort of resources that many other options have. So if I want to get cleric class information, all this stuff is in here. And it handles multiple different systems. But once again, you are buying content within the Roll20, whatever you want to call it, ecosystem.
Very cool.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff we covered with the other systems too. Foundry can do it. You just gotta find a module for it.
Yeah.
I got now so that there's I'll share it real quick. This should be quick, hopefully. I know I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Let's see. Get back to this main one. Got that one. Share. All right. So, like with this one, they now have the ability to create an entire player group to represent your map. I have a module that shows little pictures on the side too when you hover over things, so I don't have to show creature art anymore. The one thing I really, really like is that if they're on battle, they have an option. Let's see, choose one of the wizards here to go into this UI that's gamified, so a lot like Baldur's Gate and that kind of thing. And all they have to do, they don't have to look at their character sheet anymore. Like, oh, I want to cast a spell. They click here, find the spell. It keeps track of your spell slots and everything like that. Marks it off, makes the rolls. Hover over it. It tells you the details. They get all that stuff, comes back into the chat area. Another real nice quality of life kind of thing is this little doohickey here, the journal tab. So I can create now quest tabs that actually have quests that are tracked for the users. I can put all my lore in here, and I can quickly share a picture with everyone so they can see it. And then I can make these so they're hidden. These blue ones here are hidden. And then I can set it so that they own that journal, so they can go in there and they can add all the details for that NPC they met as they go through the campaign.
Please don't show our NPC notes.
Oh, yeah, I'm not doing that. You guys are They may not be murder hobos, but they're like some weird closet pervs. And then there's also like timelines. This is the map, a map they haven't seen yet, so it's hidden. But I could put Fog of War on the map and reveal like the world map as they go along. Then I have my journals where I can make my own notes, and then the party has their journal, and I will not go into that one because I don't know what's in there.
You might put some absurd things in there, so thank you for not pulling that up.
Oh, you're most welcome. But those are mods. The one guy that made most of those is called Ripper 93. And a lot of his, if you subscribe to him through Patreon, you can get the stuff early. And then usually it goes into a weird period where as long as you're doing that, you can get access to the module. And then eventually he usually pushes them into the free category. So if you're willing to wait, you can get a lot of these really cool modules for free. Or even the content creators, when you do get them, say, I want to subscribe for a month. Once you download that content, it's yours. And then if you quit, you still have access to that old content. And then D&D Beyond, if I pull down a source book, like we ran Dragon Heist the first campaign, I can download that PDF. And the great part is I can go into the journal for it, and I can edit out anything I don't want in there. So I just have what I need, and it streamlines. So I found Findery very fast and streamlined when you're playing, but setup that's slow.
Yeah. So we're at just about an hour, and I had a couple I wanted to touch on real fast.
Oh, sorry.
And then we'll wrap up. Oh, you're good.
Yeah, because we've talked about all these that integrate with game systems, but there are several that are system agnostic. And really quick, one of them is Tabletop Simulator. I don't have anything to show for that, but if you've ever played Tabletop Simulator, this is one I also discovered on the pandemic when I wanted to play play board games with my friends.
Yep. Same here.
And this was a system that was just made to run games. It didn't matter what games. It's highly moddable, and it entirely kind of puts you around a virtual table.
Right.
And you just would put your map out on the table. You can put your minis on there, and you just move the minis around, just kind of like you were at an actual game table. No rules involved, just moving pieces around a board. That one was pretty neat. You can actually there are several systems, and this is one of them where you can buy a digital file from Hero Forge and just put it into the game.
Yep.
As a 3D object that's already colorized. It's a little bit cool. And the other one I wanted to touch on real quick was called Tailspire. And this one is much more from it wants to be a very pretty virtual tabletop. So just have a quick. So this is kind of what it looks like.
Oh.
And it doesn't do any sort of systems or anything, but you can roll dice in it. It has spell effects for different things. Just made to look cooler and build out much more natural feeling and visually interesting maps and locations. So you can kind of see from this little preview the sorts of things you can do. But I think
I love they're still all in their stand. They're minis, but their little pedestals are floating around with them.
Yeah. So, I mean, the downside of that one's going to be, of course, it's not tied to any rule sets, which is a plus and a minus, but also it's going to be a lot more graphically intensive. And probably everyone's going to have to own a $60 copy of the game, or however much on Steam or wherever. But it's one that I'm interested in at least trying out, because it looks like you could do some fun stuff in it.
It does. So you would do it looks like your character sheet tracking everything outside of that, but this gives you that visual experience if you wanted for your game. Probably one of the best I've I've seen. Like, holy
Yeah,
cow!
it looks really cool. It looks like it plays right now the way that Dungeons and Dragons was showing pre-alpha footage of their 3D map kind of thing.
They should pivot and just buy Tailspire then.
I mean, it would probably be a good idea, but who knows the way that Hasbro is treating.
Yeah.
I don't want to give them any more money.
But yeah, so that's just some of the virtual tabletop options right now. There are tons more. If you just Google VTTs, you can. I was looking at a comprehensive list of virtual tabletops in 2023, and there were quite a few options that we weren't able to go over, or that I've never heard or seen before.
Yeah.
So we might have to do a part 2 in 6 months.
Maybe we'll try some out this year, and we'll let you know.
Well,
if there's something you should let us know. Like if you're playing something, put it in the chat or comments wherever you're watching us, and let us know. Hey, y'all need to get into this.
Yeah. Well, we very much failed at keeping this to half an hour.
I'm so sorry.
Well, all of us are. I know Charles has yet to dip his toe back in. I get it. You're an addict and you don't want to be tempted. But I think everyone is add to campaign.
Charles.
Yeah.
We'll give you a level 1 fighter and a magic sword, and you'll never look back.
I know.
Right?
All right.
All right.
Campaign and gets killed as a level 1 fighter.
Well, yes. If our good listeners have any virtual tabletops you like, or thoughts or features that we didn't talk about here, give us a mention in the comments. Boop. And with that, I think we will say bye for this episode.
Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Good having you. All right. And everyone, have a good day.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.